Hello and welcome to episode 12 of the 823 podcast with my guest, Lego Buff Productions.
Hi, thanks for having me on. Appreciate it.
No problem, man. Glad that you could come on and thank you for agreeing to chat with me. Uh, so,
Yeah, I mean, I'm excited to be here and got a lot of great topics to discuss today.
oh yeah, there's quite a lot to talk about, so we got it all here. So I guess we'll dive straight in with the introduction. So I kind of ask all my guests, how did you get into Lego? Some of your first sets, first memories, that kind of thing. Just kind of where it all started.
hmm Sure. I have four older siblings than me. Three of them are sisters, and one of them is a brother. So the three sisters didn't have any Lego, but my brother, who is the oldest in my family, did have Lego growing up. He had a lot of those classic pirate sets and some of those castle sets. So I always kind of grew up with Lego pieces around the house. Uh, I don't I don't know for sure what my first Lego set is, um, but to my memory, the first one that I recall playing with was like the original Anakin's Jedi Interceptor from Episode Three. I believe it came with a Vulture droid as well. So in my mind, that was really my first set, and so I grew up with those waves of like the 2005, 2006 Lego Star Wars Episode Three sets, and then from there I kind of branched out, collected a lot of city. For a while I was doing like Pharaoh's Quest, Power Miners, Alien Conquest, a bunch of the smaller themes, Indiana Jones, um, Lord of the Rings, and then I really kind of hit the powerhouse with Star Wars. I got in at the right time. I kind of grew up with the Clone Wars. That was my version of Star Wars that I grew up with,
Mm,
and I have nearly every single set from the Clone Wars wave. So that was like the height of my Lego set collecting, was the Clone Wars sets.
nice. That's a good time to get started because oh man, those sets are hard to get now. They're pretty expensive on secondary market. um,
Oh yeah.
um,
Especially the figures too. There's been like a crazy boom in the Clone Trooper prices. So I luckily have plenty and will not need to be buying any more of those. So I feel bad for everyone who wants to build Clone Wars builds now, but uh, don't have the money to buy the super expensive troopers now.
yeah, like the regular Phase One Clone Wars clones are like $7 a piece now. It's like, oh man,
hmm
because I've been collecting like pretty seriously since about 2012 or 13, and I remember when they were much cheaper, but
Oh yeah.
now they're a little more expensive. But um,
And there's even some like the Phase Two Captain Rex that fetches like $60 to $80 a
oh
fig, and
man,
that's just insane.
I see that's one of the few like really good Clone Wars sets that have come out, since kind of that initial boom. Um, and
hmm
I was lucky enough to get it in store whenever it came out. So that was pretty lucky because oh man, that figure needs to go down in price, and I feel like
Yeah.
they've got to make another one sometime, right? Like, oh man,
Uh-huh. I would expect so.
yeah. And then the next, hopefully, couple of years, at the most, but
hmm
anyway, so you've kind of gotten into it now, and how did you find out kind of about the community? How did you you know meet all of the people that you've talked to and all that stuff?
Yeah, so I would say the biggest thing would be YouTube. I grew up watching, the iconic Lego Star Wars YouTubers, Pizza Movies with his brick films, David saw Brick Studios at the time. He was Lego Boy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Um, make his classic reviews, his classic clone bases there. So that was a very great time to grow up in terms of the beginning of the Lego Star Wars community on YouTube. And I would say one of the biggest influences there would be Chris Productions. Shout out to him. I see he's started to be active again, which is cool to see him back
Yes.
on YouTube. Um, but he would do these really cool update series where he would be working on these massive Lego Star Wars bases, and then he would always be talking to people on Skype throughout the time. So I reached out to him on Skype at some point, and he was nice enough to add me as a friend, and he kind of threw me into a call one time with him. I believe Jack Productions at the time that was his username. Now it's Crimson Brick. Lego Spencer, and then there was another guy named Lego Blygon Build, who is unfortunately no longer in the Lego community. And I just kind of started talking to them on Skype. This was about, it's got to be like 8 years ago, maybe at this point. It was quite a while ago, and so that's how kind of our friendships just naturally grew from that. And then from there, I was kind of introduced to the whole private scene of conventions. 2015 was my first Lego convention. I attended Brickworld Chicago by myself with no group or anything, and I made quite a few friends there. One of them, John Clapique, who I saw you had on your podcast a few episodes ago. He was one of the first people I met in person at that first Brickworld I attended. And then from there, everything just kind of grew.
Yeah. That's really cool that you kind of like, you started out online and then just kind of made it to conventions, whatever. That's pretty interesting. But
yeah, and I remember it was Brick Fair, Virginia 2015. That was the first convention that I met someone in person that I had talked to online, and that was Lego Art 82 or Connor. It was like a really weird feeling of like, I've talked to you for like several years now, but like seeing you in person, it's not like we have to reintroduce ourselves or like, have small talk. Like, we've been having conversations for years, so it was like we just kind of saw each other in person and just kind of picked up from where we last left off talking. It was a very weird experience, but I've gotten used to it by now.
Yeah, absolutely. That's got to be really different, because most of the people you meet, you've kind of had face-to-face interaction with first, and then you kind of go online, but it's kind of flip-flopped. And that's very different than I'm sure like parents and grandparents have like grown up with. But yeah. So you are part of RebelLUG. I believe you're like high command, right? Like you're higher up on the...
Yeah. So I can give a quick breakdown of the structure. So we recently did a reorganization to kind of better accommodate the growth we've been seeing with the group. So up top is what's called high command. That's where all like the leaders of the group are. So the top level is the board members. There's 5 of them, and they kind of make final decisions on stuff, approve decisions of the leaders below them. So I'm on that board with 4 other guys. And then below us is kind of the leaders bracket, and that's the people who are doing the day-to-day operations. There's, I believe, around 8 to 10 positions there, without looking at the org chart. And I'm also hold a position there, and that's the LAN ambassador. So the LAN is the Lego Ambassador Network. It's for every recognized community. They have an ambassador that represents them to the Lego group, and then through that connection, they get special deals like lug bulk and different support requests where we can help sponsor our contests and all of that fun stuff. So I serve in that position as well.
So would you say that like the LAN and lug bulk and that kind of thing, like how much has that improved the lug? Does it make a big difference, or is it just kind of a nice thing to have? Like, is it how big of a thing was that whenever that happened?
Yeah, I remember because we started the group in 2015. It kind of evolved from that Skype group I had mentioned earlier. Those group of guys kind of naturally, I would say Spencer, Chris, and I were the founders of RebelLUG, and then from there we kind of built up the group. And we'd always shot to become recognized because we wanted that lug bulk. That was kind of like an achievement we'd been hoping for, and then we finally reached that. I want to say 2018, like the February of 2018, I believe. We became recognized, which is just a huge accomplishment. We were awaited, but ultimately the group, the lug, is based on the members in the community, right? Like obviously some people might be enticed to join because of lug bulk and stuff, but you can get that at any regional lug. Most regional lugs are recognized. So I would say, yeah, it's a bonus for everybody, but it by no means is like the reason you'd want to be in RebelLUG. It's really the sense of community that we provide for our members, that they discourse, the conversations. We have the voice calls we have all throughout the week with our members, and just the fun and games we have at conventions. That's really the real reason people stick around, and then all the other stuff from the LAN is just bonus.
Mm-hmm. So So like how like whenever you started up RebelLUG, how like
Mhm.
how many people did you expect? How big did you expect it to be? Um,
Oh man, it's such a hard question because I was just, I want to say like a sophomore in high school, I think, when we started. It was just something. It originally just started as a group of friends who wanted to do a co-op. We wanted to do the first ever, not the first ever, but like one of the biggest Lego YouTuber collaborations. So we were going to do a Star Wars mock series. It was called Clones Alone, and we were like, oh, we should probably come up with a name for this group of us that's doing this. So RebelLUG didn't originally start as a plans of like, let's build this massive group and online community. It was more of like, we need a name to call our group of friends that are presenting this collab. And then from there, we displayed at Brick World in 2016. That was our first lug display at a convention. And then we're like, this is kind of something. This is more than just a single collaboration or a single convention display. And then it was really at that point that we started. We opened a website. We opened applications. People can apply. It started for I think like the first year or so as just a Skype group, and then we eventually came over to Discord because it was just a lot more user friendly and allowed us to do more with our group. But yeah, we never had any intentions of when we started of like, yeah, let's make this massive group. We're over 50 members now. We have over 600 people in our Discord server that we do all sorts of fun competitions and other activities with. So yeah, when we started, there was no intention of growing to the size we are now.
right. So it was more of a just kind of a fun thing that turned into a a more serious thing, or like a more formal thing.
Yep.
That's pretty cool. That's like a lot of lugs start out and
Yeah.
they are like
Yeah.
really really like lofty goals, but like lofty goals that are really hard to achieve. But you guys kind of set realistic goals and it grew. And I mean, I'd say that RebelLUG's
Mhm.
probably, at least to me, probably the biggest online lug that I know about. I mean, that isn't like attached to a location. um I'd say that it's got to be the
Yeah, and
biggest, right?
I would say a lot of that. Yeah, I would say a lot of that comes from being one of the first. Before us, the only really online lugs was there was one called the Virtual Lug, which was very exclusive. It was very small. I believe they're still around. Very small number of people. I forgot what community they actually came out of from, but they display at conventions around. And then the other big one, which was most similar to us, was a Nova Lug. So they did, at least to my memory, come before us. I know they were there at Brick Fair 2016 when we displayed. Um, but again, they're more exclusive. It's kind of like an invite system there, where we were kind of the first open group where anyone can apply. We add people that we didn't necessarily know or meet at conventions that just applied online. So yeah, in terms of members, we are the largest. In terms of community size, it's hard to measure that because every community uses different metrics of, whether it be members or people in your server or whatever that may be. Um, but yeah, we are definitely one of the biggest players in the online recognized community game.
Yeah, absolutely. So oh man, I've lost my place. Okay, so what are some things that kind of like what kind of what do you expect to what can you expect to do once you have gotten in contact with RebelLUG? So like, you know, projects or competitions or anything like that, that are kind of that you guys
Mhm.
run.
Sure. So I'll run it through on both the community side that we run as well as the member side. So uh, to be a part of RebelLUG or to join the community that RebelLUG runs, we call it the Fall Hangout. That's just in our Discord server. So there's a link at rebellug.com right on the front page. There's a link to join our Discord server. It's also in our Instagram bio at RebelLUG. And so once you join that, you'll see the Fall Hangout, which just has a few chats. One of them is just a general chat, people talking about Lego or talking about other stuff. Like, a common misconception is that these Lego groups is that the people in them only talk about Lego, and that is never the case. We often talk about, just stuff going on in our lives, different things happening, share some stories from past. It's a really fun time. It's not like purely Lego talk. So there's just a general chat that kind of goes on there. We run a monthly challenge, which is a 2-hour build challenge. Who runs that is Noah H2 Brick. He basically releases a seed part, so it's just one individual Lego piece, and you have 2 hours then to build a mock of any sorts involving that one piece. You can use multiples of it. You can use it in different colors. So we do that once a month, and there are prizes at the end of the year based on how you place every month. And then we also do what's called Fall Friday, which is basically just a giant voice call, and we run it all usually throughout the entire day of Friday, sometimes even for the full 24 hours, because we do have members all across the world. We can maintain the different time zones, and it's just a fun time to get to chat with everybody, play some, just talking and discourse there. And then we run some bigger competitions throughout the year. At the beginning of the year, we ran an Assemble the Fleet contest, which was basically taken from Star Wars Episode 9. It was the Resistance sending out an emergency call for people to send in their fleets to battle the First Order. And so people had to build their own micro-scale fleet ship. And so that was a contest we ran. Again, we had prizes for that as well. These are usually large prizes because we are using our support requests we get from LEGO, again, as being a recognized community. We get a €500 request per request, and we get 4 requests per year. So that's about €2,000 that we get in terms of prizes for these competitions. And then the most recent competition, which actually just ended today at the date of this recording on Monday, the 8th, was Vin Week. And so this is something we started last year. It stands for Vignette Week, and it's a 1-week challenge where each day a new prompt was released, and you have 24 hours to build for that prompt. So like a prompt could be castle or classic pirates, stuff like that. And so you can build anything within that prompt, and you have a day to build the vignette of that. And so that wrapped up today. The results will be out shortly for that, so we're excited. We had a huge turnout the first day alone. I believe we had 71 entries, which is just incredible.
Wow.
So over the course of the whole competition, I'm sure we surpassed 300 entries there. So that was really great to see. So we usually run a few competitions like that throughout the year, these bigger contests. And then again, we have the monthly prompt, the stuff like the Fall Friday every week, and then just general conversations in the server. One other thing is we are looking at starting a collaboration with some people in there, which will be coming up in a few weeks. There'll be an official announcement with a lot more details coming in about 2 weeks here. And then flipping over to the other side, the member side. So to become a member of RebelLUG, you have to apply. There's details in the server as well as on our website under the members tab, or the applications tab, rather. And you fill out application asking a bunch of questions. We have an admissions committee that reviews them, and then so that's like the first wave. And then if you make it to the second wave, you pass that admissions committee review, then you make it to our meeting, in which everyone in the LUG, we have monthly meetings. Again, these are just members. They review all the applications. We talk it over, talk about any experiences we've had talking to these people online or in person. And then we all vote, and all of our votes count the same. So you need an 80% yes from the LUG in order to become a member. And so then once you get there, once you become a member, there's all sorts of perks you get. We have discounts with several sponsors, including Eclipse Graphics, Quantum Army Customs. We're working on a few more right now with some other sponsors, which I don't have exact details on yet because those are still in progress. We also get access to LUG Bulk, and then those support requests I mentioned earlier that we use for these competitions, we also use those for in-person events. So when we go to conventions like Brickworld, last year we had a tower building competition. We partnered up with Empire LUG, who was there, and we used 3 Parisian restaurants, the set, and we had 3 teams, and they built a tower with just those pieces. And then afterwards, the RebelLUG members drafted those pieces. So we went through and members got to choose different pieces to keep. So that's the other side of those support requests we use. We usually use 2 a year for the public and then 2 a year for members. And then we also have all sorts of other fun goodies that you get, including like commemorative bricks for each year for the members. We have member exclusive competitions that only happen internally, so usually the public doesn't even hear about them. And then, of course, the same thing as the fall hangout. We just have regular chats going on and conversations all the time. And of course, convention displays as well. That's another big thing we display at quite a few conventions. The big ones are usually Brickworld Chicago, Brick Fair Virginia, Hold, which is in Norway, and then Bricking Bavaria, which is in Germany.
Gotcha. So it's a very international lug. It's not just North America. It's not just Europe. It's
Yes.
everywhere.
Yeah, I would say our members are split about 60-40, probably 60% in the US and then 40% outside of the US. We're at this usually fluctuates from time to time, but I believe it's around 13 countries right now. So we got like Norway, Canada, um, Mexico, and then a ton of other countries in Europe, like Germany, France, England. All of those.
Right. So it's not, it's mainly Europe and North America kind of thing.
Yep.
Gotcha. So the final kind of topic here, we've kind of addressed it, but I want to, add it all together in one thing. How can people apply or get in touch with the members, and kind of what qualities are you looking for in your members? So like, what can people do that will make them a more attractive candidate?
Yeah. So to get in touch with us, again, join the Discord. That's the biggest thing. That's where we're based. That's where we'll respond to you right away. We also have an email, RebelLUG@gmail.com. But again, if you want a quick answer, just message us on Discord, join our server. We're happy to engage with you. We always have members checking the fall hangout chat, so we'll definitely see your messages. And in terms of what we look for in our members, it's definitely like a twofold or even a trifold thing that we're looking for. So first of all, we were looking for exceptional builders. The building standard for RebelLUG has significantly increased from the first people, and this is just a matter of kind of our member base. As our members become better builders, we're looking for builders of that same elevation. So and it really is exclusively builders. I know a lot of the regional lugs, they accept any fans of Lego, but unfortunately we don't have that privilege, just because it is important to us to kind of keep our community at a sizable amount. Otherwise it would be incredibly hard to maintain, since almost everything is done online, whereas these regional groups can have, some of them have several hundred members, just because it's a lot easier to maneuver those organizations locally than online. And usually we get around 20 applications a month, and then those are narrowed down to usually like 5 that we vote on then at the meeting to get to that second phase. So it is pretty difficult. So the first thing, again, exceptional building skills. The second thing being involved in the community. So we're looking for people not only in our own Discord server to be involved, but also whether it be just posting a bunch of your builds on social media. We want to see that you're active online. Also like to see that you like to go to conventions, and we try to talk to as many people as we can that have had interactions with you. Make sure you're also a good person, who you don't have any misconduct stuff in the past within the Lego community. So we all kind of get along together. So those would be the big 3 things: the personality, the activeness in the community, and then the building skill.
Gotcha. So there are a few different aspects that you take into consideration. That's it gives other people if one thing isn't great, they can kind of, if they're good at 2 things and like are not so great at another thing, they still have a chance, kind of thing.
Yeah, and I'd also like to just point out that this is all kind of subjective. Like, those are the guidelines that we officially have, but ultimately it's up to each member to vote. Again, each member's vote counts equally. The people in the high command, the leadership, their votes do not count with a higher weight than the others. They all are equal. So if usually, let's say we have 30 members in a meeting, that would mean you have to have about 24 people vote yes for you. So it's important that you're not just trying to impress the leadership or just a few members. You really have to have an overall impression on everyone.
Right. Awesome. So I've once again lost my notes. Here they are. So you also mentioned earlier that you were that you do YouTube. So kind of how did you get started there, and kind of what got you, why did you pick YouTube over something like Instagram or something like that?
Yeah, so when I started, I believe my channel was made like back in 2012, if I'm not mistaken. I don't think I uploaded my first video until like 2013 or 2014, something like that. But I started YouTube really under the inspiration from David against Outbreak Studios. Now, at the time, he was Lego Boy 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I watched his videos, and I kind of grew up with a camera. My dad, in addition to his full-time job, he kind of filmed some weddings and stuff just for fun on the side, really just for family members. So we had a few video cameras lying around. And so I was like, I have a video camera. I have a bunch of Lego. I can do what David's doing. And so that was really kind of my inspiration. I started with a few Lego Star Wars reviews and then kind of went into mock building, or, my own creation building at that point. And then kind of things just grew from there. Again, it was really the influence of David, and then just the fact that I had this video equipment on hand. I chose YouTube really because that was where the Lego Star Wars community was based at the time. Instagram, I'm sure it was around back then, but like just as a social media platform, none of my friends used it. We were all young in high school at the time, and then for sure the Lego community was definitely not on there. The two hotspots for the Lego community were really YouTube and then Flickr. Flickr obviously is really only for photo posting, and so when I first started YouTube, I wasn't necessarily building these ornate mocks, that I'd be taking pictures of. It was really the video aspect, and something I liked including in all of my mocks is features that move, motors, lights, all that kind of stuff. And you can't really illustrate a moving door or like a train or something like that in a photo. You have to use video for that. So that's why I went with YouTube.
Right. So the kinetic part was good, and you can't really, you can't illustrate that in pictures. So yeah. So then kind of talk about some of your favorite videos from the past, just any mocks that you've built, or just something interesting happened in the video, or just something like that. Were there any that stand out to you?
Yeah, so my most popular mock has over 2 million views by now, and several of my mocks are over the million view marker, and I really attribute that to being in the right place at the right time. I was in the glory days of YouTube, I would say, when these Lego Star Wars mocks were being featured on a bunch of different Lego videos and other non-Lego videos. Nowadays, mocks that are way, way better than mine, stuff you see from like Rich Boy Jay, or from the Brick Wiz, only get several thousand or several 100,000 views, where all of ours, mine, Chris Productions, all the old mock builders, were getting in the millions, which was incredible at the time. But that one mock that really kind of made my channel what it is today is the one that got over 2 million views. And it's really embarrassing because that's like one of my worst mocks. It's really scrappy. There's no like real details to it. There's a lot of functional stuff, which is why I think it was popular. People thought, the fun opening doors, the different layers pop off. It was a clone training outpost, so it was almost like a American Ninja Warrior type course. I incorporated a few little fun, unrealistic features, like a ship that could fly through like a little hatch on the side to land and stuff like that. And so, again, I have no idea how that video kind of blew up and went viral, but it did. And that both the success of that video in terms of YouTube bringing in a ton of new subscribers and viewers to my channel, as well as monetarily, I had lucky to be a part of the AdSense program at that time. So monetarily, that helped me buy a bunch more Lego pieces and really be able to build up my collection of both sets and pieces for future mocks from there. So that was definitely the key to success of my channel. And then there's a bunch of other series that I've had a lot of fun with. Alongside my passion for Lego, I also have a passion for filmmaking. So I was able to upgrade a bunch of camera equipment way, way beyond any kind of camera equipment you would ever need for a Lego YouTube channel, because I like doing some short films and stuff on the side. But that was always fun, kind of experimenting with that. I did a really cool series that I think brought a lot of the Lego stuff in, as well as the filmmaking stuff, called Sorting, Scrapping, and Storing. I believe there were like 3 or 4 episodes of that, in which I made the decision I have way too many Lego sets on hand, and I really want to build more. So I decided to break down a bunch of those Lego sets, hence the scrapping, and then I would sort them based on how I sort all of my other pieces, and then I would store them in all my various Lego storage units. And so a lot of people like that series because it was fun. I always enjoy as well as seeing other people's sorting processes and such, and seeing me break down 25 of a single battle pack set. So that was probably one of my favorite series in terms of combining both my passions for Lego as well as filmmaking.
Awesome. So you have multiple passions and you manage to put them together. That's really awesome.
Mm-hmm.
So the final topic I have here, in terms of YouTube, is kind of what are you planning to work on in the future? Do you have any series coming up, or just anything like that you want to talk about or promote?
Sure. So I just released the first episode of a new mock building series. It's been several years, probably at least 3, maybe even 4 years since I built a large Lego Star Wars base. So I am finally returning to that. I'm super excited. So I just released the first episode for that. It's nothing really special. I just kind of point the camera around, talk about my plans for how I'm going to build it, show some of the early progress and stuff. But the other night I was just hit with like a flash of inspiration because I've been thinking, first of all, what should I call the series? I just have like a temporary name for it right now, like Lego Star Wars Droid Base Update #1 or something. But I really want to make this series something unique, something that you can't find on other channels. Because again, that's really the key to success on YouTube, is making stuff that you can't find anywhere else, that gets people to subscribe and also people to watch. And so I'm currently studying engineering at the University of Illinois. I'll be a senior this coming year. And so a lot of my friends are also engineers there. So I had the great idea to kind of Zoom call or FaceTime or whatever it may be my friends who are engineers and ask for input, because a lot of the stuff I'm building in this base is motorized. There's a lot of technical structural stuff that needs to be figured out. That's more than just, oh, I wonder what type of brick I should use. It's a lot of pre-planning ahead of time to make sure everything is structurally sound and that all the electronic components work in unison. So the next episode, which will come out this coming Saturday, that'll be the first one where I kind of bring in one of my friends as an expert to talk about different methods of this lift that I'm working on that will raise some of these tanks from a hangar up to ground level. So he'll be talking about different lift structures, the different components I need to consider, tension, all these technical engineering terms of what will make the best lift. So I'm excited to kind of bring this educational aspect as well onto my channel of kind of introducing engineering principles to Lego mock building.
That is very, very interesting. I'm really, really excited to watch that. I'm also kind of thinking about going into engineering, so I will definitely give that a watch, because that is something that I really want to learn more about and kind of get better at. Kind of those principles and whatnot of engineering. So yeah. I think, unless there is anything else here that I have just completely missed, I think that we are ready to get into the news, unless you have anything else that you want to add.
No, I think we pretty much covered everything extensively there, yeah.
All right, awesome. So, the first topic that we have this week in the news, we have some LEGO Star Wars 2020 summer sets. I don't know if these are officially revealed yet, so I don't know. Obviously, I'm not going to show any pictures of them or anything like that, but I don't know. Have you seen these yet, or no?
Yeah, I have seen them. To my knowledge, they are all leaks, so I don't really want to go into too much detail on them.
Right.
About stuff, just because, again, RebelLUG is part of that recognized status. Don't want to risk anything there.
Yes. Okay. I was not sure if these were like technically revealed or not, so I just kind of threw that in there. So we'll move on.
Yeah, it's always tricky with that kind of stuff. Yeah, especially these. They seem to be from a retailer catalog, and if I'm not mistaken, the original leak came from a retailer, and that's usually LEGO's policy: is if a retailer releases it, then it's acceptable to cover. So I saw some YouTube channels covering it, some not. So it's that weird gray area, and it's hard to get an answer on kind of if it's right to share or not.
Right. Yeah, I don't want to jeopardize anything there, so we'll kind of skip past that.
Yeah.
And then I've got a few Brick Fan articles here. There are some VIP rewards announced for June, and if my internet will cooperate, I might be able to just tell you what they are. Okay, so we have some sweepstakes here for a 2017 Comic-Con Deadpool Duck minifigure. I don't know about the sweepstakes thing. I'm just like a little apprehensive about that because you have such a small chance of winning. It's just like, is it really worth it? But yeah,
Yeah, I've seen quite a few of these in the past, and to my knowledge, I haven't actually seen any of the winners. Like I believe that the Lego Group does in fact give these away. I'm not suggesting that they're not, but like I haven't seen any posts on the lines of like, hey, I won the Lego sweepstakes or anything like that. So it's just such a small chance. I'm super curious to see how many people actually enter into these.
Right. Yeah, I think they've done some before for Star Wars, if I remember correctly. They had like a Maz Kanata one that was signed. That was a very interesting choice for a character, but I don't know. Very very weird. Very weird situation with the sweepstake things. But yeah. The next one is the Space Rocket Ride. This looks like I don't know if this is North America or not. But I mean that was a cool little set. I don't know how you feel about it, but I thought it was an interesting little set.
Yeah, definitely interesting. It's always fun to collect these little gift with purchase sets, although I haven't gotten too many recently. To be honest with you, I'm still confused about how this new VIP program works. I haven't bought from Lego or Lego.com probably like 2 years, and in that time period is when they switched over this new VIP system. And so I checked the other day just to make sure that the points I had transferred over, which luckily they did. But it's such a bizarre system right now, and it's so hard to, I believe you have to, like, if you want to go to the store, you have to first go online and like print out the coupon or whatever of what gift you want. Or it just seems like a lot of extra steps from what it used to be.
Right. And I mean, there's not much that they've added. I mean, you can do a sweepstakes where you have a 0.0001% chance of winning. You can do all that stuff, but you can't go to the store and spend your points. So very weird, very very weird.
Yeah, and they also, like, the weirdest part about it is they changed like the value of all of the points. So like it's no longer when you spend $100 you get a $5 credit. It's like some like really bizarre point structure. To my knowledge, again, I could be misrepresenting this. That was just how I understood it as I was reading through the new guidelines. So it was hard to figure out, how many points you got from stuff and how those points converted to these gift with purchase things.
I think if I remember right,
sorry, not exactly the gift with,
Go ahead.
Not exactly the gift with purchase, because obviously if you spend like $50, you get the free gift. But it was more of like these additional, I think like some previous gift with purchases went on to like the VIP rewards thing. It was just, I don't know. I'm so confused, as you can probably tell by the whole thing.
Well, it's like, I think they based it on some currency. It might have been like Danish krone, but I think it's based off of some kind of currency where it's like 1 point equals one of those, and then they just use the exchange rate. But I could be wrong about that.
Oh,
but
that would make sense.
Yeah, but I'm not sure. It's a weird little thing. But the next set is the VIP set. That's a pretty interesting little build. It has some nice pieces in it, but yeah, it's different. And then there's just like a bunch of like Duplo photo frame, a tote bag, a red brick, a fountain, I don't know what that is, and then a digital download. So a bunch of like, you know, they're okay. We'll go with that.
Uh-huh.
Um, and
Yeah,
then
I never understood the digital downloads.
yeah,
That didn't really make sense. Like, why would you waste your VIP points on like a wallpaper or something?
yeah, you could just download one off of the internet for free, or you could just waste your points on it.
Exactly.
The choices are endless. Um, but anyway, the next one here, I really like the Lego Ideas program, and I try to talk about it on the show as much as I can. And we have a new project that has reached 10,000 supporters, the Night at the Museum set. This is really, really interesting. I think this could potentially work as a set, maybe. Um, yeah, I'm curious to hear your thoughts about it.
Yeah, it's always tricky. I've been trying to find a pattern, with like what exactly these the Lego group is looking for when they're reviewing these projects. Because some of them seem like no brainers. Like I think the Saturn V set, like the Wally set, even the Friends set are kind of like no brainers. Like, yeah, these will sell a ton. Like, these are obviously very popular licenses and stuff. But then there's some other obscure ones, like I would even point to like Adventure Time or stuff like that, where it's like, this is kind of like an interesting route to go for Lego, um, in terms of an idea set. And then you have like a lot of the originals, which aren't necessarily a licensed theme that they still go with, for these sets. So it's a weird mixture of kind of finding out exactly the criteria that Lego looks for, and kind of what licenses they're comfortable with going with, and other ones they stay away from. The Friends one was rather surprising to me. The Friends, the TV show, the
Mm-hmm.
Central Perk set I'm referring to. It was surprising that they went with that, because that seems to be more of an adult show, not really a kids show. So to see that they would go something like that, I know that's kind of a trend now that Lego seems to be going towards these more mature stuff, which to me almost kind of brings into question their brand values. They've always stayed away from these adult themes. They've always stayed away from very violent stuff, but with the addition of the James Bond car we saw a few years ago, they just made a Fast and Furious Technic set. So it's interesting to see them go this route. But I think Night at the Museum would be one of those ones that's like, this is a no-brainer, like very popular, especially when I was growing up. Night at the Museum was like the movie you watched with your family. So
Mm-hmm.
I think this would be a great seller. The model itself, looking at it now, is really well built. I can't see many design changes they would have to make. Although the only thing that would concern me about this is the size. It does seem rather large. I don't know what the piece count on this is, but I would imagine this would be like a two, even like $300 set as it sits now. So I could see like a more condensed version maybe, but that
Mm-hmm.
might take away from the feel of the large museum. So I don't know. This one's up in the air for me if this would pass.
Yeah, I feel like they've done they did like the dinosaur skeleton one, and I feel like they would market this as like,
Hmm.
hey, this is a place to put those. Like I feel like they could maybe do something like that.
Oh,
Um, but I don't know.
yeah, that's a interesting way.
I'm not sure. This will be. I want to
It
keep
would
an eye on
also
this one.
be cool to get. Yeah, it'd be cool to get a Teddy Roosevelt minifig too. I see that in the picture there. I'm looking at the listing right now, and it looks like it's 2,900 pieces, which I was kind of right on the dot there, around a $300 set.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't imagine them selling an idea set for that much with
No.
a license like this. So I don't know.
Yeah, I'd say like the highest they'd go with ideas is maybe like $200, something like that. So I don't know.
Hmm. Yeah,
Maybe they'll remove some of the exhibits and then kind of say like, build your own exhibit kind of thing. I don't know. That this is a
yeah,
very very weird little project, but I hope that it passes because it'll be cool to see what they do with it. Um, but yeah,
for sure.
and then my next thing here. We have the enter your builds for the Brick Train Award thing. And, like, obviously this is cool, but I kind of wanted to use this as a way to bring up a different topic in that all the conventions this year are pretty much like not happening, right? Like that's pretty, like a lot of them have been canceled, I think.
Yeah, the only one that's still up in the air is Brick Fair, Virginia, which is one of, if not the largest. It tends to go back and forth between Brick Fair and Brickworld Chicago, largest convention in the U.S. Um, we find out on June 12th if Brick Fair, Virginia will be happening. That's kind of the date set by the state authorities there of when they'll decide if that convention center will be available, and be able to have crowds in there at that time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that like I live in Indiana, so we have Brick World
Mhm.
Indianapolis here, and I think that they postponed that to November. Um, but other than that, like all the rest of them are pretty much like canceled or I postponed or pending postponement kind of thing, and
Mhm.
may not be rescheduled. So it's kind of I don't know what they're gonna do, but
Yeah.
hopefully Virginia happens. I really hope it does, but I don't know. It seems more and more like it's gonna be tough to pull off, but I hope that it happens. Um,
Yeah, and honestly, even if it does happen, I can see a lot of people not attending just because they're still, worried about the spread of COVID. So I can see people just staying away from it, even if it still is occurring.
right. Yeah.
And a lot of the, I know I have a few friends, Lego friends in Canada, who normally attend Brick Fair, and the border as of now is still closed, and it seems like it will be closed for the foreseeable future. So they wouldn't be able to even get into the country to attend.
Right. Yeah, that'll be tough. I don't know, and I'm sure that other countries are sealing off their borders. I know New Zealand is another one that has closed off pretty much
Hmm.
the country from foreign travel. So if you left, you might not be able to get back in.
Yeah.
So that might also have something to do with it. Um, but yeah, so I guess conventions will be next year um, to visit. But
Yep.
oh man. But anyway, so the next little topic here, this is a very weird little set, a Legoland exclusive Ninjago World thing, and this is kind of another one where like it's a cool set, but I wanted to bring up something else. Um, is there a Star Wars display at Legoland? Like, is that a thing, or am I making that up? I
Oh
can't remember.
man, I would assume there is. I honestly have only ever been to Legoland once. I went to the one in California in San Diego, and I was like, I don't know, like 10 years old or something. So
Okay.
I honestly don't have the best memory of it. We were also only there for like maybe like 8 hours a day, which is usually not enough time to see the whole park.
Mhm.
So yeah, I unfortunately don't have the answer for that, but I would assume there would be.
The only reason I'm asking that is because could we potentially see like more Lego like licensed Legoland exclusives, and then that would be kind of another way to get Star Wars things, kind of just in a different place, I guess. And I guess Ninjago is kind of like Lego's own IP, but they could maybe do something with it. I don't
Hmm.
know. That would be a cool way to get some interesting minifigs or parts or whatever. I think it would be kind of interesting. But
Yeah, I would almost say though, even if we, let's say there was a Star Wars exhibit there and we did get a set for it, um, I honestly don't know if we'd get Star Wars minifigs, because if you look at this, there's no Ninjago minifigs in this set. It's
that's
just like the
true.
Legoland park attendees. Like, so that would
Oh,
be even more bizarre if they made a Lego Star Wars Legoland set that had no Lego Star Wars minifigs. It was just like how the Ninjago has this like little temple build and then ride. It would be like the equivalent of that for Star Wars.
that would be really bizarre. Huh. I didn't think about that, but now that you say that, that is probably what they would do. Oh, man. But anyway, moving on to the last topic here. Um, so Lego has this was a very interesting story this week about the police and fire or Lego City and fire sets being taken off of shelves and like advertising kind of being moved around for it. Obviously, like we won't get into the politics of the situation and like what's going on.
Sure.
That's a very it's a subject that we really cover from a Lego standpoint kind of thing.
Yeah.
And this is really interesting because I cannot think of a time where Lego has retired something early because of something like this. Like this is really, really interesting that, they said that it will not be taken off of shelves, but the advertising has been, paused for a short time.
Yeah.
So I think this is interesting. But
Yeah, so I've got two things on this. First of all, I do have an instance of something similar happened, and then second, I do have some more backstory to how this all transpired. So, the other incident like this was when Lego released in their architecture line. They have like the Skyline series where they build skylines of different cities, and for the Las Vegas one, the original set that they designed had the hotel in which there was that horrendous shooting in the U.S. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, it's the largest shooting in U.S. history. And so they had the hotel that shooting happened at in the set. And this was like the shooting happened like a month or two before the release of the set or something like that. And so they had to redesign the set and they put in a different building. But they had already begun production. So somewhere in the world, maybe in a Lego storage locker somewhere, there is that set with the different hotel in it. They switched the hotels.
I totally forgot about that.
That's the only
set.
instance that I can think of something kind of similar to this happening.
Huh.
Yeah. So that's a really bizarre case. But the backstory, or I don't know if I'd really call it backstory, but I saw this pop up on the LAN maybe like a week ago or something. So someone, and at the time Lego had said, this is meant to be a private discussion between Lego and retailers. It's not really meant for the public. So they asked us not to, share this information publicly. But obviously it got out and was everywhere then. But it sounds like Lego sent an email, or maybe not Lego, but their logistics partner or something sent an email to all the retailers for Lego. So this would be like Target, Walmart, all those people, right? And they asked, immediately, please cease advertisement for the following sets. It was the Lego City Police, Lego City Fire, the upcoming White House set, and then I think there were maybe a few others sprinkled in there. And so, again, as you mentioned and as Lego clarified, they're not retiring these sets. They're not pulling the sets. They're just pulling the advertisement, at least for now. So advertising, marketing, any sorts of commercials, any sorts of promotional images, even like when you go into a store, like the sign for the Lego aisle at Target, there wouldn't be a police officer. They would pull that down, right? Because that's considered the marketing. Mm-hmm. So, definitely a crazy instance in which Lego did this, but as was incredibly misreported, they are not removing these sets from shelves.
Right. I'm very curious. I think we won't really have an answer on this until next year, I don't think. Because like police and fire are kind of like annual themes, and they kind of,
Yep.
It's a January release. So I'm very curious to see, will they produce as many now? I think that it's definitely going to be a very interesting, different situation. And I'm not really sure how it'll go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and another thing I think I saw in a letter somewhere is that Lego mentioned that, they historically, as their sets have always portrayed the cops as the good guys and the robbers or whoever else is in the sets as the bad guys, and they said they may be reconsidering that viewpoint that they've been portraying. So that would be even more interesting if we get these very different looking police sets that aren't your traditional kind of police car arresting someone type thing.
Right. And also, like, I'm kind of interested why the fire sets have been kind of affected by this as well. Like,
Yeah,
I don't know why.
I've
That's
seen a lot
very
of
strange.
people talk about that. Yeah,
So,
I don't know what the firemen have to do with this, but it must just be the general umbrella of Lego City that I don't know.
right. Yeah. That could be, but we'll see in January, I guess. I'm not sure what we'll know
Yep.
before then, but well, yeah. So anyway, I think unless you have any other topics or anything that you would like to cover, anything else that you'd like to talk about, I think that I think we're ready to wrap up the show.
Yeah, no, that's all I got. I just want to give a final, thank you for having me on. I really appreciate the invite to the show. Uh, Obviously, a lot of great topics today, a lot to discuss. And if any of your viewers have any future questions, I'm happy to answer them. You can reach out to me on Instagram at Lego Buff Productions or through the RebelLUG Discord. I'm always on there.
All right. So there will be links to the YouTube. There will be links to YouTube, links to Instagram. I'll link the RebelLUG Discord. Any and all links, just look in the description. They'll be down there. So yeah, hopefully you guys enjoyed episode number 12 of the 823 podcast. I would like to once again thank you for being on the show, and I would like to say thank you to the audience for coming on and watching. And I will have a new episode out sometime in the future. So thank you for watching, and I will see you guys in the next episode.